From London to the world, every flaggy planet said, you matter, you're heard.
I'm not going to quit on Restream. I refuse to quit on Restream. They're gonna have to make Restream work, whether they like it or not. That's pretty much my. Yes, that's my take, right? I don't know whether you can see me, whether you can't see me, whether you can hear me, whether you can't hear me. Try again. So I'm on YouTube. Too many messages. I can't unmute Natalie. I'm trying to get people to hear me, right? Who had a bad link, he says. Oh, that's the eclipse. Yeah, the eclipse is eclipse, right? No. I've managed to see 2 in my lifetime, so lucky me. Right. So virtual background is on-ish. Alright, so now I need to go to LinkedIn and say, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I even on LinkedIn? I wonder. Well, as Sarah was saying yesterday, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We might throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? You might just have to throw the baby out with the bathwater today. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, I can hear me. So cool. Right. Yeah, I've just done that. Thank you, Annie. Okay. Right. All right. So now the other camera is working as well. Right. Okay. Fine. Let's see, which camera do I want to use? This one, that one. Okay, so I'm using the Insta camera. Okay. Oh, very weird. So which sound am I using? Let me do my sound setting. Insta. Okay. Thanks, Matt. You can see and hear me now. Okay. I'll take that. That's halfway there. I don't know why the screen looks so weird because it should be right. I need to mute myself again. Thanks. Excellent. I'm doing what I'm meant to do. Okay, camera. Apparently now we're playing ball, camera. Okay, right. All right. Cool. Let me mute myself. Right. I'm working all this out live on stage, live in front of you. Anthony, I can see you. Anthony says I can see you, and Mero, I see you too. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Right. Okay. Mero says I can hear you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your patience. I hope I am half sorted. Even if my picture freezes, not to worry. As long as you can hear me clearly. I can hear you have your echo in here in Paramus in New Jersey. Yeah. I don't know, two N's at once. Good luck with that, McMerrill. Good luck with that, right? So Curtis, I do see you. Thank you for being here. With my technical issues, I guess it'll be a shorter show than normal. Curtis says, hello, our friend. Thank you for being here and sharing your energy and time with us. That's from Natalie, I imagine. Yeah, that's from Natalie. So welcome, Curtis. Thank you so much for joining us. Right. Chrissy, I see you as well now. See, my friends are here. My text is just not doing. Lisa, I love it when my friends try to save me. That's Lisa tells the world, and it's restarting his computer. That seems to have worked, Lisa. That seems to have worked a bit. Right. Where was I? Feeling unstuck. Feeling unstuck. Miss Josette, welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing? Oops. Yes. How you doing? Glad you're here. I need to send you the form to get on your board of trustees, a board of directors, no, yeah, board of trustees for your projects, for your mission. I will get in touch with you and let's see how we get that to happen. Okay. So now Annie's on stage and they can all see me in my Action Hero t-shirt. It's all right. Why is my phone still making noise? Why are people still messaging me? I wish they wouldn't. Yolanda says, "Oh, I'm reading." Well, what's you reading? Oh, the book. Okay, that's all right. Because today I sent Yolanda her final. Well, it's not a final draft because I never have a final draft until it comes to publishing, right? And so I sent Yolanda her book, The Intertwined. So this is the first complete version post editing. So there's of course there's a version that after we've written the book, and then I make my clients read the book, of course, to make sure that there's no omissions and errors, and additions, which we can do when you are a writer of sorts, right? And then once the book goes to an editor, it comes back, then you have to edit the book. You have to apply the changes or reject the changes that the editor suggests. So that's been done now. So now we're close to actually going to publish a book. I have just published Dr. Noella's book, and we've got our first event tomorrow. We're talking about leaders and leadership with no training, no title, and no experience. That's what her book's about. We're going to launch that on the 27th of August, which is a short time scale, I suppose. But we'll have to launch a book sometime, so that will do me. When that's done, then we're going to get launched Yolanda's book, and there'll be a couple more books in between to launch as well whilst we're there. But Anthony, thank you so much for being here. And I saw your message earlier about you traveling the country in the motorhome. I love the idea, Anthony. I love the idea. So whenever I see a caravan, I always think, oh, I don't think I could. I couldn't do it though. I would want a luxury mobile home, a big thing with everything. Right? I know, literally, I want a sitting room. I want outside space. I want a big bathroom. I want a big everything, right? So and apparently the thing that I want costs lots of money. And I don't know how you park it. I don't know. I can't imagine where you park it. But my friend, you enjoy the freedom of being you. Enjoy the freedom that comes with having a mobile home. Is Lachelle here as well? Welcome, Lachelle. So Lachelle, I'm well aware we need to talk. I've been telling everyone my big plans to have a show on Zondra TV, and I guess it will be one of those. Lachelle, I'm just giving you a heads up now, right? Can I do what we do on live events on TV? In other words, I don't want to have to go to a studio every time because I think that's a burden. Maybe that's the beauty of TV, Lachelle. Well, I guess what we're talking, tell me, right? And so I would rather do shows that is a hybrid of what we do on this live stream. So side by side, me on one side, my guest on the other side, and then we can talk. Then we can talk talk about them, obviously, the way you do on a TV show. That's my mental plan, Michelle. If that's possible, then please. And I said, no, we'll make it happen. I love that, Michelle. So we definitely will. I said, we definitely will. And then I suddenly realized I need to learn more about being on TV, Michelle. I need to learn more. So I need to just come to watch more of your shows. I said, I watch quite a few of them, but I need to actually start taking lessons and have to host a show on TV properly. Anyway, look, I don't want to waste your time, my friends. Let's go back to my topic today. My topic is how to get unstuck, because we all get stuck, don't we? Well, Lachelle doesn't get stuck. And I use Lachelle as an example because I think the road to success can be paved with what looks like we're stuck all the time. I used an example last time I was here where we talked about me finally doing a pull-up on a pull-up bar in my garden after a year of trying, effort, failure, setbacks, illnesses and injuries, but still after all of that I actually did a pull-up. I think I did 3, right? And here's the weird thing about life, which no one tells you these bits. This is why we do these events, right? No one tells you these bits. After I did the 3 pull-ups, I suddenly felt like I went backwards. Can I do another pull-up today? Yeah, I think, but I can't guarantee it because of how life works. Let me put it that way. See, we all expect success, the journey as an entrepreneur, the things that we do, right? We'll expect today I'm at a level, tomorrow I'm going to be better, and after that I'm going to be better. Today I'm at a level in my income, tomorrow I'm going to be richer, after that I'm going to be even richer, right? That's just not how life works, my friends. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So this whole thing about feeling stuck, it is a feeling. It is genuinely a feeling, right? The show, so I'll come and listen. I'll happily come and watch the show on Saturday. So I'll message you after this show. I say then let's create a plan that I can actually follow to get me on TV. And of course it's about my guests, right? So again, these things are not unrelated. I think when we think of ourselves, when our ego becomes a thing, our pride, we feel more stuck. We can get stuck very easily. So when you realize that everything is not about progress every day, everything is about ladders. I'm not mad. I haven't lost my mind completely. I really haven't, right? See, I had to look at speak to my coach the other day and say, right, what is going on? How do I do pull-ups and then suddenly lose the ability to do that? Suddenly lose that ability when I thought by today I'll be doing higher and higher pull-ups. I'll be flying over the bar. And she's like, that's not how it works. Life is about ladders. I'm like, tell me more. She says, right, today you reach a level. I'm like, yeah, I'm there. I did my pull-up things, right? And she said, right, tomorrow your standard is no longer where you were before. The standard is no longer to do a pull-up. The standard now becomes higher. Doing the pull-ups, it becomes your baseline. I'm like, wow, I like that. So think of that when we do work, right? We'll do a project. We think, okay, I've done that very well. I've done that okay. And then next week we're like, I'm just not good enough. Because I'm not better than I was last week. You're not going to be better than you were last week necessarily, because now you've set a baseline, which is the work you just finished, right? And now that's your marker. So it's very easy to feel defeated almost, on this journey. Now this feeling stuck thing is a very weird, it's a very weird thing. I guess I'm looking at it like much like fear. It's one of those things that we experience and we don't even need to experience it. if we actually appreciate how life really works, how the journey to success looks, what it means to actually go the extra mile. For almost every day, when you reach a new level, you realize that there's another level above that. That is what sets the seed for our disappointment in ourselves. The "I'm stuck" feeling. We must get past that. We must mentally come to terms with how progress is made, and then realize that the answer is not to give up. The answer is not to doubt ourselves. The answer is not to wonder whether we're good enough, whether we're making progress, because of course we're making progress. But still, again, the answer is not just to work like dogs and work like crazy people. When I think of effort, sometimes it can feel like that fly. The fly that's trying to get out of the room, sees a window and decides, okay, I'm going to get out. I'm going to go through that window. The window is closed. What are you going to do, fly? And the fly could easily turn left and go through the door that's open. But the fly decides, no, I'm going to go through the window. Brute force. You know what happens to the fly, right, my friends? The fly will die. If only it had looked left, like I said, or gone through the door, it'd be free. That's like us sometimes. We think brute force is always going to win. It's not. 99% of the things we do is strategy. We have to work it out. It's not a case of try harder, try harder, try harder. And part of working it out is to think of the right things. Hence, I'm writing this book. I have my 7-step formula to how to become unstuck. We can't afford to get stuck. We need to focus on the right things, and we'll move past being stuck. What's the right things? Okay, so here is where I'm going today. Yep, graphics, restream, come on, restream, do something. Okay. See, you won't believe how much this topic bugs me. You really would not believe. I was here as well, right? Maybe it was a different room when I interviewed Lachelle in my Famous on Purpose room. But it would say the stories we tell ourselves is they play such an important part. You know, I guess let's not tell ourselves we're stuck. Let's not tell ourselves. Help. You know, that's very important. That's part of the story we tell ourselves. You know, and I guess part of me believes strongly that there has to be a feeling of divine guidance, maybe divine direction. You know, in other words, you're doing what you're doing because you have a God-given gift, God-given mission. See, when you have that belief in the divine aspects of what you do, who you are, who you be, what you do, then it's very hard to tell yourself that this is not for you. Yeah. And I think we do need to truly believe and then live who we think we are. You know, who we are is everything. You know, I think we really have to start there. But there's one thing I want to talk about today, which is really talked about, because I can talk about it because it's just me. I can talk to you, at you. Yes. Welcome, Jeremy. I see you, my friend. Long time. Always feel like a long time with you these days, right? Yeah, I say Jeremy, like Jeremy is an amazing person. Supreme salesman, you know, and he is on a mission to help people. Welcome, welcome, my friend. Who else do I see? Oh, the amazing Mel. The amazing Mel. How you doing, Mel? Glad you're here. Your show is on 27th. It moved from yesterday, if I remember rightly, Mel. Thank you for being here. If you haven't been to Mel's, be visible and building trust in an AI age. Connect with Mel and go to her show for sure. Right, my friends. Let me go back to my graphic. See, here's one thing I really want to emphasize today. You know, and if this is the only thing I leave you with, then I've done my job, right? And once we know who we are, suddenly the doors open for us. Suddenly we have a path to success, right? Right? And that route to success is only going to work if we are brutally honest with ourselves. There's no point me saying I want to be the world's greatest publisher. I want to be the world's greatest author marketer. I want to sell. I want my authors to sell 5,000 books each. And not be willing to do the work it takes. The work is not always hard work. Now, normally I'll say you have to do the hard work. Of course you do, but no, the bit that holds us back is not. It's not always hard work. And in truth, success, it just means doing the right things at the right time, in the right volume. Don't under execute. Don't lie to yourself. Don't try and cheat the system. Don't forget why you're doing this. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget the process that you created. Even through the hardships, even through the days where you feel like you're going nowhere, when you feel stuck, when you feel stupid, accept it's part of the journey and learn what it takes. Now, when I say learn, I mean seriously learn. Now, many of us, I talked in Paulette's room yesterday about children and young people who can't get jobs. Mr. Wallace, I see you. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining us. He said you would, and you're here. It was talking about young people who go to university and can't get jobs. Whose fault is this? I'm like, I don't know whose fault. Is there a fault? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But the reality is that many young people, and many of us, many people, full stop, right? We have a fantasy view of the journey to success. We don't expect to struggle. We don't expect to sweat. We don't expect to bleed on the road to success. Look, I'll say this. Maybe we don't need to bleed. Maybe we don't need to, give ourselves a heart attack. Maybe or give ourselves burnout on the process. Of course, we don't. See, what I'm trying to do with my book is, I guess, support people to find a way to work in the flow. And if you look into what it means to be in flow, you realize that it's about the work becoming easy, becoming normal, becoming natural. That the work becoming doable. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. I didn't say it's not going to be hard. Of course, I didn't say that at all. Now, what I said to you was, you have to prepare for the hard times, but the way you prepare for the hard times is by creating the identity that says, I'm the person who does that. By doing that thing that you must do when you must do it. Today, tomorrow, and the day after. It also part of who you are is your understanding how life works. That your success today does not mean you've achieved. You're there. You've achieved anything. Your success today simply means you are now at the next level in the journey. On that ladder I mentioned, you have a different baseline. Now you've achieved something today, which puts you on your baseline here, doing what you do well. Tomorrow, you're gonna strive for the next rung in the ladder. And let's say you achieve that rung in the ladder. Let's say you actually achieve the next level, next step, quickly, slowly. Who knows how long it takes, right? When you get to that next level, that then becomes your new baseline. Don't shoot yourself because you feel like you don't have everything under control at the next level. Embrace your success. Embrace the fact that to get to that level is an achievement in itself. Now, Nothing I said there says that you're not going to fall down to level before where you were, where you're proficient, where you moved past. Many of us will fall back. We do. I think of what happens to you. Like I said, I gave examples earlier, right? Today you learn to do something. Tomorrow you might just have to start again. Now you want to say, let me give you a better example. My sons, I've got an 17-year-old son, learning to drive, right? We've been driving for the last 3 months, maybe. Yeah, 3 months. It's past the theory, so and he can drive. When I sit in the car most of the time with him, he drives. And this is what I'm thinking. You are a good driver. Go and do your driving test, and then you'll be free of me, Sonny Jim, sitting next to you. His name's not Jim, by the way, right? And he suddenly decides, I don't like revving the car. I'm like, where's this come from? No, it's a manual car, and you know when you have to do the clutch control thing, right? I just drive. It's his car, it's not mine. My car is automatic, so I guess I don't know. I just drive, right? He's like, no, I don't like revving the car. I'm like, why? Well, it's not very good driving. I'm like, please stop. Really. You know, so it's forever trying to work at his biting point. And you know what happens? For a kid who can drive, who's been driving for months and drives far and has driving lessons with professionals as well, paid for driving instructor, right? Suddenly, he gets very annoyed when the car stalls. Anyone here who drives will know what I'm getting at here, right? You have to if you can either try and get your writing point perfect, in which case it looks smooth, or you can be like a job. Much more, that's probably more what I'm like, right? When I drive a manual car, a manual car lets you rev and race and race off faster. But my son decides, I want to drive beautifully. I told him yesterday, you remind me of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. In other words, you're trying to do what you do beautifully. And now he's frustrated. It's like, I don't like driving. I'm no good at driving. Like, calm down. Just calm down, son. Calm down. You're not stuck. You're not bad. This is why I'm talking about this point today. Of course he's not stuck. Neither has he regressed. He really hasn't. What all that's happened is that he set a new bar. His new bar is not just I want to drive the car. His new bar is I want to drive the car beautifully. That is the Jonathan Livingston Seagull. If you haven't read the book, look, it's a small book. You can go and find it. Jonathan Livingston Seagull was a seagull. Of course, it's a bird that can fly, right? And one day decides, I want to fly gracefully. I don't want like all the other birds flying around scavenging for food. I want to fly beautifully, and I want to teach the other birds how to fly with grace, with beauty, with poise. And then he was evicted from the family, right? But either way, he still had. He set the goal to be better at at this thing called flying. Much like you do. So every time that you do something in your line of work, my friends, are you really stuck, or are you trying to get to the next level? I say you're trying to get to the next level, and you are beating yourself up when you actually don't need to. You're not stuck. If you tell yourself you're stuck, then yeah, you'll be stuck, right? Your identity becomes who you are, your reality. I think we need to embrace the process of achievements that we go through every day. I see, Mr. Wallace. I think that you got the right idea, right? It says, Wallace says, we'll fall back. It's like doing a skateboard. No, exactly that. Again, see, Wallace. Here's a funny thing. We can understand it when we're teaching others, when we're teaching kids, for example, right? You teach a kid to ride a bike, the kid falls off the bike, one day, And the kid's like, "This, I'm not going to do that ever again. I don't want to ride any more bikes because I hurt myself." And you're like, "Get back on the bike. Just get back on the bike, right? You fell off. We all fall off the bike sometime. Get over it." See, why don't we do that? Why don't we tell ourselves that same thing? This is what I'm trying to. This is what you take away from me today, my friends. I'll be happy, all right? You're not stuck. You just need to truly believe that you are the person who does that thing. Start there. That's the identity part. And then remove the lie you're telling yourself. Remove the barrier that's stopping you, the constraint. What's the barrier that's stopping me in here? I really don't know. I say for some of us, it is underworking, under executing. For many others, it is I don't have the money. I don't want to invest in myself. But the next level, as you said, Jeremy, is a thing. And the only way to get to that next level is by being genuinely authentic, being truly honest with yourself. And Jeremy, I could pay you, my friend. Really, I could. The consistent action. You must take action and create the outputs consistently. If you say you are a baker, please bake. Don't be sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't have a bakery, so I can't bake." Bake at any level. And at least you're keeping up, your skills, your identity. You're being who you say you are. It's when you lose that identity that I wouldn't even say you're stuck. I think you have a choice to make. If you're not going to do what you say you are, then please change who you are. Change who you say you are. Again, look, we've all done this. Whether you call it pivoting, whether you call it changing. And again, I remember when I was at school, right? My thing was I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to be a doctor. Maybe it wasn't really my thing. My point about identity. I said I wanted to be a doctor. I went to school and I learned maths and science. Deep down in my heart, did I really want to be a doctor? Not really, because I was allergic to blood. If I saw blood, I'd nearly faint. If I saw a needle, I would literally faint. So the thought of cutting people open, I've seen my granddad on the hospital, so I've seen people being cut open. That revolted me, and I think I almost fainted again. You see what I mean, my friends? Apart from the fainting experiences of what about doing what doctors do, I wasn't very good at maths. I hated maths. It's not I hated maths. Stop lying at me, right? I tried. I just didn't get it. If you get maths, you get maths. Anyone here who is a mathematician will know what I mean. If you get maths, you get it. I never got it. For me, it was hard work. It was everyday revising, everyday learning, and fainting whilst learning, right? And everything I tried, it didn't work. In the end, one exam I got found out. I sat in an A level, advanced level exams after school, in a college level, advanced level, A level, call it here in UK, and I couldn't understand the question at all. I didn't understand a single question. For 2 hours, I didn't have an answer. If you don't get the question, then you can't have an answer, right? And I realized there and then that the lie I've been telling myself, I want to be a doctor, it wasn't about me. That was about the family tradition, being Nigerian, having 7 uncles and aunties who are doctors. I wanted to just follow the family footsteps. That's not enough. That's what I learned that day. That's not enough. Of course, I didn't put it into mindset speak when I was 17. I just realized I have to change. I can't do maths. I can't do science. I can't be a doctor. What are you gonna do, Annie? What are you gonna do? Right. Annie is not gonna be a psychologist. I decided that there and then. And you know what? Since that day, I became a psychologist. I got a psychology degree, psychology masters, and I work as a psychologist. Not the way you might think. Again, this is all part of this feeling stuck thing, right? Oh, I've got a psychology degree. I must be a psychologist in my job title. No, no, it doesn't work like that. Find a way to do psychology and use the knowledge you've learned. Whatever you are, whatever you learned in terms of your business, find a way to make it work. I said my first job was online doing marketing, and then I realized that marketing needs psychology. I never did before then. I never knew. Again, this is part of the conversation about being stuck. You're not stuck. You need to make choices, open doors, try things, but be real to yourself, be true to yourself, and be consistent. Don't sit there complaining and blaming everyone for anything. It's on you. It's on us, right? It was on me to find a way to use my degree, and my way to use my degree was first as a marketing department manager, content development manager. I was, at 21, and then after that, I went to go and work in a children's charity, being a manager for advocacy services for children in care. Again, you can see, I could easily have sat down and said, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I got a degree in psychology. I got a master's in psychology. I'm not doing HR. I'm not a therapist. I'm stuck. That's not how it works. I wasn't stuck. I'm not a tree. I'm a person. Right? I can move, and I moved. I'm saying to you, if you ever feel stuck, my friends, be honest with yourself. Move. You're not a tree. Move. Move and do something. Do something. Do something. Let's show those many kids. I'm saying 15. You feel 15 of them. I'm saying right. I'm sure some of them can feel stuck, Lachelle, but I'm sure you say to them, just move. Do something. It might open a door that you don't see coming. What can we create? What we know and what we've been through and what we are good at. That's what life calls on you to do. I mentioned maths. Dr. Roxana is our maths genius in the room. She gets maths in a way I'll never get maths ever. Again, look, listen to what I just said, right? And I laugh because I'm well aware that as soon as I say those words, I will never get maths. I'll never be good at maths. I am making a choice there and then. I'm making a choice right now to never make an effort at being good at maths. I'll probably run away from the opportunities that take me into maths. Maybe more for me, right? But then there's AI, there's tools that can help me understand. There's people that can help me understand. So I never have to feel stuck on the maths part of running a business. Because I have an accountant. I've also had an accountant from day one. So there's coaches, there's people who can help you to understand. In terms of building your business, just when you feel stuck, it's normally the numbers, the maths that makes you feel stuck. And I had a coach who literally made me understand how the numbers work in business. It's not necessarily sales. It's about margins, it's about profits. It's about the costs of things as much as how much you bring in. And the way the coach explained it to me is that I think one day, I'm deeply frustrated with Annie's half-hearted effort. It's like, Annie, you could never fill a bucket that's got holes in it. I'm like, what? This is the conversation I'm having with you today, my friend. You can't fill a bucket that has holes in it. In other words, you can try and top up and you can try and do as many posts as you like, for example, right? If you haven't got a way to onboard your customers, build those relationships, to give them what they want, to deliver quality in what you do, the customers won't stay. Nothing you can get as many customers as you like. You can get them in for free if you want, they'll still go because you don't give them you don't solve the problem, right? No, it's, see, that sounds like a set of words I've just spoken, but to me, that was profound. See, people only stay if you give them what they want, what they need, a solution that's going to help solve their problem. Once you appreciate that, it changes how you do what you do. It has to, right? The aim is not for my happiness. The aim is not for how I feel. The aim is to solve problems. Cool. Remarkable. And then you realize that your problem is not marketing. Your problem is not your post is not working. You're not stuck with your post. You're not stuck with, you're not stuck. The question you need to answer is, am I solving my client's problems? Because if you do, you suddenly have the next door open for you, that thing called loyalty. If you serve people, they will be loyal to you. That means they're going to keep coming back. And with that, you're going to keep making money. And each time someone comes back to you, you spend a total of 0 on marketing to get them. Then you realize, if I can just build loyalty into my business, I will never run out of customers. Now, my friends, if you think you're stuck, you're not stuck. What is one thing you need to do to move forward and serve more people? Anyway, look, I think I'm gonna have to let you go. I don't want to be here all day. I don't want to be here talking to myself all day either. Now schedule away from the tech that can easily go wrong. There is so much that we can do that we have to do, but a lot of it is in our thinking. Our thinking must become real, must become more truthful. Maybe the real that doesn't cover it, right? To get you know, I wished it on myself and I got what I wished. My camera did not work when we started. Now it's working. Now I'm suddenly in two minds. Do I send it back, or do I hope it's gonna work tomorrow? Maybe I need to accelerate. So maybe the one thing I'm not doing today is I bought a MacBook to go with the AI camera because my desktop is aged, ancient, 10 years old, right? But what I suddenly realized is that you need a connection to connect the MacBook to the camera. A USB lead that won't work because the MacBook has got a USB lead, a USB-C. So I need to go shop and buy a USB-C to USB-A lead to connect the camera to the laptop. Rather than pontificating and seeing this disaster happen today, I'm not going to be driven to remove that one constraint in my life. That one constraint means I'm going to have to go and buy the USB connection that I need. Maybe I might even order it from Amazon and get it tomorrow, day after, or whatever, right? But that's the one thing I must go and do. I'll leave you with this question, my friends. What's the one thing you must go and do? The thing that you're putting off, the thing that you're lying about, the thing that you're saying, I'll do it later. The thing that you know in your heart of hearts, could be the thing that will transform your life, your business, your experience. You haven't even got to think hard. Just go and do it. Just go and do it. Now, be honest with yourself and just go and do it. I'm not saying do 25 things. I say just choose one thing. Then mine, obviously, is this camera issue. What's yours? Anyway, look, my friends, hopefully you got something from listening to me today. I'm genuinely pleased. In a weird kind of, any weird kind of way, in a weird any kind of way, right? I'm genuinely pleased that I've experienced what I've experienced today. Truly, because I've got to do what I like doing, which is I can waffle to myself, and I proved it that. And I've actually enjoyed doing it, right? I think in 4 years I've never had to talk to myself on the show, but hell, I knew the day would come one day. See, here's why I'm so giddy about the whole thing. Why I'm so happy about the whole thing. Right? Some people think I just show up and just talk. I do. I do, right? But now I realized too that deep down I do have knowledge and information I want to share. Natalie says, any other song you're speaking about expectation management versus ego, and you're making a good point. How would you describe your daily check-ins with yourself to encourage constructive momentum, even through the tough times? What empowerment rituals? I'm looking on the restream. So even what empowerment rituals help you stay motivated? I tell you now. With many questions there, right? All right. Expectation management, expectation versus ego. I don't know. I think part of your identity will give you an ego boost, an ego, because saying your identity stories, what you tell yourself, has to build you up, has to tell you that you are the person who does that. And I think the danger is when we just talk and don't take the action to prove what we're talking about. I think it's only through consistent action and output and delivery and impact. Those are all one thing, the way I just said it, right? Only through doing what you do that you can be truthful about your expectations to yourself. If I want to be a publisher, I must publish books. I'm saying the more books I publish, the more that reinforces that I'm a publisher, the more my ego, it's not so much ego, the more my sense of self as a publisher is rock solid, right? And is that an ego problem? We all need ego, Natalie. We all need ego. So you're very good at what you do. Saying when you're on your panels across the world, you are. I think you're entitled to feel that you are contributing to on the humanitarian level, at least, all around the world. That's not ego. That's just who you are. End of, right? Expectations. We expect to succeed. We expect to be rich. We expect to be impactful. And I guess I want to believe if we have the impact that solves people's problems, then they'll pay us. We'll get rich. We'll make money. We'll become wealthy. And I mean, the risk is that we lower our expectations. Don't be doing that. You're a star. You can create. But you know that. I'm sure must. Hopefully you know this now. We can all create genius. We have to create genius. We must. See, for anyone who doubts how great you are, I say to you, look in your soul, talk to your God, and then talk to those who have made something of them, those who you look up to. I say, no, talk to Lachelle, talk to people in the audience, really. And what you find is that journey is nothing like what you think. Dr. Roxana, she's a legend, truly. No, you don't know who she is, and you probably won't believe me. She's got a huge YouTube following because she's essentially the math teacher on YouTube to hundreds of thousands of kids. I'm saying you have a gift that the world needs. Give it to the world. But you have to believe that you're that person. You have to then, if you believe you're a doctor, then you're going to walk like a doctor, talk like a doctor, do what doctors do, and learn like a doctor. And then serve like a doctor. I'm saying, is that expectation management? Yeah. That's just being you, right? I'm a publisher, so I publish books. Do I think my books are better than other people's books? Yeah. That's not really the question I ask myself. Do I want to sell more books than everyone else? Yes, of course I do. That's the question I ask myself. How many books have my author friends sold? If I've sold more books than the next, which, again, I'm not showing off. I'm just saying to you, I have my drive. It's my drive to sell more books that puts me different to other people. It's my drive to sell more books that makes me say to Lachelle, I must have a TV station to put my authors in people's houses. It's my, it's that belief in who I am, what I'm about, why I do what I do, my identity deep down. Maybe some is my ego, but it's not an ego in a bad way. It's an ego in a good way. Feel free if you think that can an ego ever be good? Yes, of course it can. If you don't believe you're that good, you're not going to do much good. Is that ego or self-belief? I think we'll get stuck on the ego thing quite a lot, right? Daily check-ins with myself, Natalie. Of course, I start my day, meditating, setting my goals. What I call talking to my God, trying to listen to what God has to tell me today. As the day goes on, my actions prove whether I am living my life or not. I think I try and be as calm as I can be, and I'm not. As you saw when the tech was playing up earlier, I wasn't gonna have a breakdown. I wasn't gonna have a hissy fit. I wasn't gonna start crying or start any other thing. Literally, the only thing I was interested in was, can you hear me? If you can, I'll carry on. If you can't, I will do something else. I'll turn the screen off and go somewhere else. Right? And I think having that emotional balance, maybe it's also a realization that everything is important, but nothing is important. It's not that deep, is what my son would say to you, right? Now, things will happen every day that would challenge and test your resolve, your intent. What do you give in, or do you push through? If you throw your arms up and say, right, I'm stuck, when things go wrong, then you're gonna stay stuck. Whereas if you're the person who finds a way when things are not going right, you become a creative genius, right? Adaptive, flexible, all the good words that you want to be using. But ultimately, you keep going. You know, I think it's about being honest with yourself, Nat. I try and be honest with myself at best of times because I just find it's more helpful. You know, if I'm honest with myself, I get more done. You know, it's life. You know, there's many different ways to look at life, my friends. Same as different day, you hear, right? Sometimes it's true, but the challenges of life is what makes us grow. You know, and it's what makes us make those right decisions in the end. Like I said, you know, the fact that my camera and computer wouldn't talk today for a while now tells me I need to sort out my connection with my laptop so my at least camera can talk to the laptop. If you're wondering why that's so important to me, I tell you why. See, I bought an AI camera knowing I needed a better camera. So I asked Cyrus, what camera should I get? He said, get this one. So I got this one. And then when I tried to download the controls, the app for the camera onto my Mac, my Mac says, I'm too old. You can't download that software onto here. So I bought myself a MacBook. I can download the software onto that, and I can control the camera. So next time you see me with the right setup on my MacBook, you see me at a deep, at less set forward and more space. That's what an AI camera to do. You know, it can give you depth even when you're just on screen. But I can't do that because I haven't got the app. Because my computer won't run the app to run the camera. So that's why I bought the MacBook. Now, when I get that, I have a lot more control. I can control how I look, how I feel, and how I come across, which is halfway towards working towards the show's TV channel. You know, so when I say what's the one thing I'm not doing today, you suddenly see why this is important to me. Maybe it's not the one thing I need to do today, but it is one thing that will clear a lot of problems for any, right? To encourage constructive momentum, Natalie. I think I have a very simple strategy, Natalie. You know, I'm human. Half the time I just want to rest. Half the time I'm lazy, I think, but I'm not really. You know, and well, maybe it's more like half the time I set high expectations for myself, and I don't get anywhere near them. Like everyone else, right? Nothing new any. You know, I want to get through 30 pages of my client's book today. Of course I do. And then as time goes by, you're like, oh, I didn't get to that. No, right. No. I don't do that anymore. I don't not get to my client's book. See, the way that I do momentum, Natalie, is simply I will always open the file for the thing I say that I would do. Because last night I was finishing Yolanda's book. You know, so for me, my remit last night was simply open the file. If I do 1 minute, I've done one. At least I've opened the file and done 1 minute. I've done something. I've done the work I said I would do. Right. If I do 3 hours, even better, right? You know, I think just always show up. Always show up where you say you're gonna show up. Always show up to do what you say you will do. You know, you haven't got to do it completely today or any other day. I'm saying do a bit today. Just open the file. Gives you a chance to do something. You know, so I might do 10 minutes. I might, but as it is, I finished Yolanda's book today. Now today, I know what my task is today on Wednesday night, and I need to create Dr. Noella's room for tomorrow, right? You know, I've started designing the flyer already. So again, I think maybe that's the trick I use, Natalie. I will start everything. I will start, and I'm willing to start and maybe never finish, but I really don't finish. Well, once you start, you tend to you finish, right? Tough times, good times. Nah. Once you start, you have momentum. If you don't start, you have no momentum. Nothing's gonna happen. Things will get in the way. But I say start, and all the things I talked about today. If you start, if you truly believe you're the person who does that thing, if you are committed to it, if you truly want to remove the thing that's stopping you doing that thing, you will finish. Come back tomorrow and do a bit more, and day after do a bit more. Eventually, you'll be surprised that it's finished. On to the next. Empowerment rituals. I don't know what those are necessarily. What's empowerment rituals? Right, hold on. Right. Is that another question? No, I'm in the wrong place. I might be in the wrong place, Natalie. I've lost. Okay. No. It's me. Empowerment rituals, activities. Right. I got a big note in front of me that says, "I am an action taker, Natalie. I love myself." And it says, "My pain is my gain." And my body never makes mistakes. That's another thing. Say I'm not into ruining myself. I'm into doing what I need to do. Like say, no, life's not about bleeding to death or sweating to death. I say life is about working in flow, finding the happy place where you can do your best work. Sometimes that means resting. Sometimes that means not working. Sometimes it means working harder. But for most of us, it means working, you know, in the system. I designed my day the way I wanted to be necessary. I designed my day. My day is how I designed it. And I will do what I want to do when I want to do it. And the only way I can get through like that is by making sure I'm honest with myself. If it's got to be done, it has to be done. You know me, Natalie, and you know what I'm like when other things come in front of me, and I'm just like, no, I'm not even looking at it because I know how I'm gonna. I know what my day is. I know how I'm gonna spend my day. I'm not. No one's gonna take it away from me. If someone's upset with that, what can I say? Someone called me earlier. Oh, one of my good friends. Can we do a show tomorrow? I'm like, no, because it's not your day. You're not in my diary. Your day is next week, next Thursday, because I have a 2-week diary by design, right? So I'm not gonna do your event tomorrow. No, of course I have another event in the diary instead. That's how to cook, right? But either way, I think controlling my day and steering clear of distractions, steering well clear that's half my answer. It doesn't. I'm not perfect. Doesn't mean I'm going to do everything correctly. Of course not. I'm still human, right? And my things take longer than most sometimes. I can live with that. As long as I'm making progress every day. As long as I never have to say to myself, "I'm stuck." I'll leave it there, Natalie. You're not stuck. You're making choices. And everything I've talked about today. Design your day, commit in your heart to heart, and work out what is the step you need to take today. And take that step. You'd be amazed what happens tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, you realize that you've gone up a rung in the ladder. And your baseline is now higher than it was today. That's to be celebrated, Nat. That's every maybe the last thing I'll say to you now. See, I save my foods till last thing. Last thing, shoot me if you want. If feel free if you want to tell me off. But I'm sitting here now. It's nearly 12 o'clock. I could go and have my dinner. I really could. I probably won't. What I will do is I will work, achieve the tasks I want to achieve for today, and then I'll go and reward myself by eating near the morning. I think now delaying my gratification until as long as possible means I get to try and do more. I didn't say I'll do more, I said I'll try and do more. Now back to my point, open the file, open the file, man. Read what you have to read. Look at it, at least look at it. And then if I pass out asleep, I'm asleep, right? If I get to do some work on it, happy days, right? It's all good. It's all good. And I said, like, I love the world I get to live. And I'm sure I hope you all do too. I really do. And I think together, separately, we're gonna create greatness. We all are because we can. If I can play a small part in anyone's journey, then wow, I feel blessed. I mean that sincerely. If I can't play a part in your journey, maybe you can play a part in my journey. Anyway, my friends, I thank you very much. I've genuinely enjoyed the waffling at you. Having friends like you and that, it makes life worth living, right? Oh, I like that. I like that. I like that, Missy. I have to show that one. Do I have healthy narcissism? No, I have self-confidence. I have self-love. I have genuine good intent that I put into practice. That's not narcissism is when you thrive at the expense of others, right? Your joy comes from hurting other people. No, I don't. That's not that. That's not me at all. No, I'm saying you being happy with what you do, you having confidence in who you are, you celebrating yourself. It's a good thing. That's not an ego. That's not narcissistic. That's not an ego problem. That's just I celebrate me. There's a song about that. My friends, look, get in touch. Truly. Now, get in touch. Of course, and hopefully you connect as well. Let's show I'll be in touch with you, right? So Jeremy says, "Thank you for being one of the few who helped me find my voice." I truly know that's what it's all about, Jeremy. It really is. Be a genuine person to those around you. That identity thing. Now you see why I say it's so important. A chameleon doesn't get anything. Chameleon, people run away. Whereas when you're genuinely who you are, you're a nice person. Then I learned that from the friends that I see in the audience, from the males of this world, from the shells of this world, from Dr. Osama, from you, Natalie. Dr. Noella, I see you. How are you, Dr. Noella? So I'm gonna now hurry up and create our room for tomorrow, and then we can start do some invites that we can. Hopefully you like the flyer. See, like I said, bit by bit. Thank you so much, Dr. Noella. You made my day seeing you here. So our show starts tomorrow. So our show's at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, 7 p.m. UK time. So we're talking about leadership. And so leaders who have no training experience. Most of them don't even have the title because we're leading ourselves, right? Very few have the skills. How do you lead if you don't have all those things that we're told we need? Dr. Noel is a perfect example of how it can be done. Better still, she's written the book. Now, the CEO with no experience. And hopefully, you will join us and buy the book when we launch the book on the 27th of August. Anyway, I shall invite you all to our show tomorrow, maybe by DM. If I miss my chance, then please do forgive me, right? Anyway, Natalie, thank you so much for being a superstar. You really are. You made my life easy today, and thank you for smoothing my friends, smoothing the process whilst my tech was playing up a big time. Anyway, the CEO with no experience, the courage to start, the wisdom to sustain. That's what the book is titled. That's the full title, right? Join us tomorrow. Come and get to know who Dr. Noel is, and let's go from there. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Natalie. Enjoy your evening. I'm sure Stanley Green has got his evening later on, right? Power thinking. It's always a good one to go to. And it's about 3 hours away, so do join. Trying to make more friends as well. Enjoy your night, my friends. You take care. Take care, everyone. Take care. important, yeah.
And he sees you. He sees you. He sees you. Oh, from the children with no voice in borrowed rooms, to the magazines that carry their truth. 25 years of the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. From Mitcham to Croydon, from London to the world, every flag